Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about This Week in Warhammer. If you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share, or let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Alright, let's get to it. Welcome to The First Turn. I am Hyena.
I'm Llama. We're back.
We're back. Yes, I think our schedules have finally kind of calmed down, so we can do this more regularly now. We are recording here post preview for the Kill Team event, which I must say, it's funny compared to last week.
Yep.
Because we noticed we were going to try to do something last week.
Yep.
And we were running a couple minutes late. We showed up. We get the stream going. It's over. Basically, It was basically over, which was really funny because so much more stuff was showed off last week than it was today. But today's event was so much longer.
So much longer.
Not just than that, but longer than it needed to be.
Yep.
Like, let's be honest. So today we saw for Kill Team announcement of a new edition, which does not really entail new rules. They said they like the core rules of the game. They're just going to be doing some balanced stuff, a new setting,
rewording,
that kind of thing, cleaning up the verbiage, which we're always pro that. Yes, absolutely. Make your game as clean as possible.
Yep. To
avoid ambiguity. That's
yep.
Because the fewer questions your players have to ask, the better. Right? You don't want to have to release FAQs of what we intended because our wording wasn't clear enough. Like, that's never fun. Because then there's periods where players are playing it one way and then you clarify this is how it's supposed to go, but people haven't been interpreting it that way as a community. So now it's like, well, do you actually release your intention or do you just go with how people want to, know it and want to be played?
Yep.
That way. So, yes, make your game clean. It avoids all kinds of problems. That being said, Kill Team is apparently in a good spot.
We don't know that much about it.
I bought plenty of Kill Team models.
Yeah.
And, for smaller games for sure. I bought the models because I like them. But playing the game itself, I don't know much.
No.
I played a couple demos. And it was fine.
I know at like Adepticon every year, they give it a stream, a dedicated stream spot. It always seems to have a lot of people. These models in particular, one thing they've done I think that's been great is when they've done these 2-player box sets for it, or just release 2 things at a time, they've done 2 things. They give you a new Kill Team to play within Kill Team, but then they update like a unit or expand an army that just really needed one or both.
Right.
And we had the Striking Scorpions, which was an aspect for Eldar, long overdue to be updated, which, by the way, makes me believe we'll get a plastic Karandras when Eldar get their codex. Could be wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another Kill Team for Eldar that would include because we have Striking Scorpions.
Fire Dragons, or
I would say probably more likely the Warp Spiders.
Or the Warp Spiders,
also being a Kill Team, kind of thing. Because they're also sort of operative, stealthy, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Any of that's on the table for getting updated.
But this time we get a brand new unit for the Tempestus Scions branch of the Astra Militarum.
Yep.
Jump packy guys.
Aquilons is what they're called. So it's a made up word just because you have to be able to copyright things.
You gotta be able to IP them.
But it sounds like a 40K word, I guess.
It does.
Aquilons.
Like Aquilia and all that.
But I'm hoping, my hopes is because they're going to have rules for 40K. We know that they will be different enough from Scions to make it worth it, right? I got some thoughts already because there's other jump pack units and like grab shoot units and stuff like that are already in the game that have their own unique special rules, but I kind of want maybe some bigger changes, and we'll get to that. But Scions right now I believe have a rule where they can deep strike.
Okay,
but it doesn't make any sense. I honestly don't think it makes sense that regular foot Scions have that ability. It always felt weird to me.
What do they have their transport thing for if they just can deep strike in?
Right, exactly. And so what I'm hoping is we'll see a change to how Scions work as a unit, and then some of their functionality of the Scions are replaced with these guys. Right? So like Scions don't get to deep strike anymore. They're foot soldiers, right? They've got transports. They've got leaders that join.
They've got armor and weapons regular guard don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't get to deep strike anymore. These guys will get to deep strike. Regular Scions will not. That way you can differentiate them for what you want them to do. I'm hoping that these guys, because they've got these modified weapons that are more mobile and usable with these growl shoots, then maybe they'll have a shorter range. They won't just be able to shoot, like the range of a long las or like a hot shot. They'll be a shorter, more compact version of the gun. Maybe more shots because they've got the extended mag on there. Whatever they want to do to balance it.
Because I think that's a tripping point that happens in 40K quite a bit, where they make something where the idea was that, well, they want to jump in there and be stealthy and they want to get close to do their firefighting. It's like, yeah, but guys, you then gave them a gun with a range of 36, so they're just dropping on a roof on the other corner and sniping
and just shooting the whole game from there. Yeah. Oh, and somebody coming from them, they're going to jump their 12 into another ruins and you can't target them. Yeah, it'd be that kind of thing.
It's like force them to get close. Then.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, there's some potential there for some rules changes and some specific role stuff. But I think, like I said, they're going to have to steal some stuff from the Scions. And the Scions have to lose stuff to make these guys
their roles just going to change. But I think the highlight of this is an update to a 20-year-old kit, which might even be the theme for today, the Vespid Stingwings.
It'd be weird, though, is if they cut the Scions for these guys.
Just cut them.
Because they have not the Elysians, like the Katigans, the Kazarkan, the elites that are basically stormtroopers. They're basically Scions.
Right.
I don't know. I saw weird stuff happening here, but yeah,
it might just become also a whole way to play them.
Yeah. But you're right. The bigger news, though, I mean, news model side is always better news for me.
Yep.
Is that they are giving us Vespids
finally.
Vespids are one of those units that's like, okay, they've been around for a long time, but they've always been these old chunky metal models. There's always been kind of a question of whether they're going to stick around even because they haven't been updated in so long. They went 7-8 editions without getting an update on that model.
Yeah, they came out like third.
Yeah. So
when Tau first came out.
We're in 7 editions later. Yeah. So it's like, are they actually going to keep them? They haven't updated them. They haven't really given them anything. Like, why would they keep them around for this long if they're not going to do anything with them?
Right.
But then finally, here we go. Here's a kill team.
Here's their commitment.
I'm hoping it does straight up replace the old one. It's not like the Kroot, right? Because Kroot carnivores as a unit stuck around when the Kroot far stalkers or whatever. Their kill team came out that had all the special weapons. They didn't replace the Kroot carnivores. They were in addition to. And it was like, oh, that's weird. But I'm hoping that this is just a straight replacement. Yeah. I mean, the Pathfinder kill team replaced the old Pathfinder one.
They made it sound like it was because they were like, this is an update to a 20-year-old.
Good.
So I'm going to guess, at least model-wise, it's a replacement. Their rules might not change much, but whatever, they look pretty now. And like we talked about, they just are aching for contrast paint or speed paints or express colors or whichever version of that style of thing you use.
Quick shades.
Yeah,
I don't know, whatever they're called.
Yeah, that's the AK one. Yeah,
whatever.
Quick shades.
That style of
deep
paint,
shades.
that style of painting, though.
But yeah, just they look perfect for that.
You're all slap chop, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man. I painted my original models that I'd gotten back in 2nd or 3rd edition, which was a
Tau came out in 3rd.
A Tau Battle Force. Yeah. So the Tau Battle Force came out in 3rd with the original drumstick, ethereal, and the plastic Kroot. I remember painting them, I don't know, so many years ago with a method that was very similar to Slapchop. Before Slapchop was even a term.
That's right.
It's like this was like I'm not saying I pioneered it, because it's not a new technique.
Nope.
People have been doing this for a long time.
It's called undershading or
you undershading.
Yeah.
Exactly. You do that, and then you throw like a wash or an ink on there to color the tint all of it at one time. I mean, this was people used to do this with like painting skin. They call it the dip method, right?
Yep.
You'd pre-shade, you dip it in a wash, and it would strong tone or whatever, the color.
They would even use wood stain to do it. And then they'd shake it off in a box.
You shake it out, you hang them all upside down so it all drips off, and then it's all tinted.
Yep. And carnivores were some of the first that popularized that.
And they were very, very easy to do with that. Yeah. I will say the Kroot carnivores were a little too smooth skinned for the day because that's a technology, right? Yeah. They have no texture on their skin, and so they were just
now
like
they're excellent.
Yes. Yeah. But I would say that this is slap chopping has been around a lot longer than it's been called slap chopping.
Right.
That's That's my little bit on that.
Yeah,
right?
social media just caught that term.
Someone
named
named it. It's like oh, and then everyone calls it that. Like it's a beginner friendly technique too, which is nice. But people coming in who have started painting, it's like, I want a slap chop. It's like, stop calling it that. Like that's like I feel like the easiest way to tell if a person is new to the hobby is if they say that. I think that is a telltale sign. They're like, oh, okay, you have been painting.
I'm getting excited to learn how to paint. I want to do some slap chop. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Well, you're going to want to start over here with this shitty paint.
Yep. We're going to give you this.
Don't buy this good stuff yet. Yep. You want this.
Here's your tester's nylon brush. Yep.
Oh, man. Where it's just like the squared off bristles with like the,
made out of plastic.
The cheap plastic handle that like you get in like a kid's like finger, like watercolor. You know? Yeah. But anyway, so kill team, there you go. New Vespids looked great. Lots of new like weapons within the unit, which they've never had before. There was always just like the neutron blasters, maybe a fancier blaster on the leader. But
in a game in a box, it's got a bunch of terrain, and most of it looked recycled. But there was some there was a new measurement gauge, which those are fun. There was barbed wire and plastic.
The scatter stuff I think was new, but the buildings looked a lot like the ruined Sector Imperialis, just generic buildings that I think
that you can almost Lego.
I mean, we've had in like dozens of starter kits, which is fine because the terrain is fine. It makes good ruins.
And the whole box itself, if you are at a store, you can have a small table set up with a permanent demo of Kill Team, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah, agreed.
But we got a surprise update in between to one of the Sons of Sanguinius, the Blood Angels getting some updated models, some much needed to take some of the older stuff and make it look new.
Now, I don't think it's a surprise.
Nope.
Because, we'd gotten other characters updated already to the Primaris,
Dante,
sort of
Mephiston,
Dark Angel's got a pretty big update with some unique units and some new updates and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm not surprised that Blood Angels got the treatment. You know what? I will expect Space Wolves to get their next one. Yep. That's going to be coming soon.
Well,
we'll get some characters with some new Primaris armor.
I still think Space Wolves are going to lose some characters, but that's another topic. But anyway,
you mean like Lucas the Trickster?
Right.
Remember that guy? I don't.
The guy who rides the polar bear thing.
Oh yeah, the polar bear
wolf.
It's a fat
Fenrisian.
It's a fat like barrel chested Fenrisian. Like it doesn't. It's so silly.
Canis, is that? No.
Canis Wolfborn. I think he's got the double claws.
Maybe, yeah.
Double claws and a wolf.
But they have so many that were forge ruled. They have so anyway. The Blood Angels, like a lot of the stuff was not beyond expectation. Where it's like these guys look how you expect.
Here you go. We're keeping these characters. Here's a Sanguinor.
Astorath.
You've got Astorath now. Where you're getting not Grimaldus, the chaplain guy. With the ball gag.
Lamartes. Yeah.
I don't think I don't really see it. It's a Vox.
You want to talk about a 360 that people did on that, because people celebrated that model as looking great, and it does look great. And he's not Primarist, I think, if you look at him.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But because that's just it. If he dies, it's over for him. That's the whole surprise of his lore in the Blood Angels chapters. He's not only restrained the Black Rage thing. He's still there. He's managed to still be alive and still be exactly who he is. The new model looked great. Someone makes a joke about it. Looks like he's got a ball gag, and now no one can let that go.
Yeah. And then years ago we had Mephiston.
Yep.
Now I think it's been.
And then their last go round was Dante.
And Dante. So like that's pretty much the bulk of their characters.
I think Tycho's just gone forever. But
maybe. You've got a successor chapter. You had Seth, Gabriel.
Yep.
Gabriel Seth might get something. That would be cool with his big ass
Flesh Terrors,
Eviscerator chainsword.
Right. I think in lore he's been Primarist.
Yeah.
Maybe. Although I thought he was basically serving out a punishment right now. But
so that was the bulk of the Blood Angels stuff. As far as like unique stuff they've got, I don't know if they'll do an upgrade kit for maybe. One of the big dreadnoughts to make it a Death Company dread, or for their unique stuff, or the librarian dreadnought or something. I don't know.
Their Death Company now is jump packs.
The Death Companies do. Yep. Then they have Primaris Death Company, which I don't think makes a lot of sense lore wise. Right. But I thought they worked that out in the Primaris Gene Seed.
That's what I thought too.
But that was odd. So they have them. I think the one of the kit they got is a little polarizing.
Yep.
right? Because they did an
Absolutely.
update to a very iconic unit for Blood Angels, which is the Sanguinary Guard. And actually polarizing it in a couple ways. One, because they reduced the unit size and made them more elite. They're not a 5-man unit anymore. They're a 3-man unit.
Do you suspect they'll give them an extra wound?
I hope.
Like maybe 3 apiece
That
or
would be
something
nice,
like
you know? If they keep their Artifice armor for a better save, they maybe even make them tougher.
Because if you're going to make them elite, they got to survive like that.
Yes,
right?
they do. They're going to have to have something to make them better. Maybe they'll have invuln saves too. Like maybe they will be truly elite and be tougher. But I think in terms of like model design is where the most polarizing part is. Because they showed that they've got really cool bits that they can sculpt, right?
Yeah.
Like when they did the Dark Angels, the Dark Angels models were just dripping with like detail, right? And there was ornate bits, and there was dangly, there was necklaces, there were prayer beads, there were like robes, there was so
but
much
still space.
There was so much detail on them. These Sanguinary Guard come out, who are supposed to be in some of the most ornate armor, right? Artificer armor, covered in stuff, and like basically wearing statues is how it's supposed to be. So much extra work goes into this armor, and then this unit is lacking all of that.
Well, what it almost looked like out of the gate was they gave you Primaris Assault Marine kit, with an upgrade sprue,
right? It's kind of what it looked like.
Blood droplets and wings to put on the thing, and helmets,
and it just
so I could see that. Now I'm interested to see once people start getting their hands on them.
Yeah.
The painters.
No, of course, with a paint job, you can absolutely make it look.
Because you know what it ended up looking like? I actually think it was on the heels of brand new Stormcast Eternals models, which do have very ornate gold or silver armor.
Because they showed off that new the Knight Azeros guy.
Yep.
Who is a very jump pack looking.
But even the basic Liberator is like, these guys look like Liberators with a jump pack, is it? And Liberators are fine, but this is an elite unit. This is their Deathwing. This is their Wolf Guard. This is their hyper elite unit, and you
really planed them down.
Their armor's pretty basic. Now scale and proportion wise, they look so much better. No
problem there.
And again, when we see some painters get their hands on them, I'll be.
And I think you can do some work to make them look more ornate, right? You can always add bits.
I was just surprised.
You can add shoulder pads.
I was surprised that basic, like filigree was left.
Right.
Like.
Where's like the swirly vines like around the corners of the armor plates or something?
That's what I figured was on the chest plate or on the collars. You put those little vines on them or something.
But I think it was also right off the heels of another release we got, which was for the Imperial agents. They showed off Inquisitor Kotiaz, who's also supposed to be in like Artificer armor. Who's also supposed to be very, very ornate gold. Yep. And you saw him.
He's been around forever.
You saw him, and you're like, he's so generic looking. Like we thought it was just a generic Inquisitor.
Yeah.
It wasn't a named guy.
That would have been fine.
This isn't a named guy. He's supposed to have all this trappings of like majesty, and it was just like basic power armor. It's just so plain.
Yeah.
These felt a little like that. It's like these guys need to be over the top, just ridiculously.
Yeah, this is the one where they need to go.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, as I saw people complain that the Deathwing were too plain, and I was like, I disagree, because they have spaces. Yeah. That's up to you, but the details that are on there are ornate, and then of course they made the robed super versions of guys,
which are the elite ones who are supposed to be covered in
the coaches one. That was an interesting thought, and I heard a bunch of conspiracy theories about why it looks like that, of what the design. But it's people who don't know what they're talking about. They have no source. They're just. But you're right. When I saw it, I was like, oh, a generic Inquisitor on foot, awesome. And I was like, oh, that's Kotias. What?
That's him? Wow, okay.
Well, it was like they just, even if they were going to take that size and shape, it's like, well, fill that space with something ornate.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's got a buzz cut now, but
I don't care about that at all. But
his Artificer armor is sacred. It's ancient. Yeah. For a human, he's way outlived his expectation. Give him that.
Yeah.
I don't hate the model. It's not enough for
and that's the same thing with the Sanguinary Guard. I don't hate them.
No.
But it's just, there needs to be more, right? Like I had sent to our
especially
group,
when you cut it down to 3.
Yeah, I had sent our group someone had done a Photoshopping Photoshop conversion on Reddit or something, and there was a bunch of different examples of what Sanguinary Guard would look like with different existing jump packs. Like someone had put on the sisters ones with like the pipes.
Yep.
Someone had put on the old ones with the fake wings. Someone had put on the like the Raven Guard ones from Forge World where they had like the weird like Raven Guard symbol backpack. And it was like every single one of these makes them look better. Like having something behind them to make them look more regal helped so much. Just that alone.
And there might be the aesthetic change that was the biggest. Because when we looked at them side by side to the old Sanguinary Guard.
Now, the Sanguinary Guard, I'll preface this. The old Sanguinary Guard models do not look great.
No, but the one thing that really separated them was like the wings.
Yeah.
So what they could have done if they wanted that new jump pack design, you make a single rocket centrifuge, and then you put the wings on either side of it.
The fake wings. They don't function. They don't flap. They are literally decorative to make them look like
angels. It shows
angels.
their station.
Right.
And so...
Because, I mean, when you look at Dante, like, he's got the same kind of armor that they should have. They should look like little Dantes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because he's got toes sculpted into his boots. He's got, like...
The abs in his cuirass and
like, all that stuff. They should have looked more like him. I mean, hell, they even showed off...
Even more like the Sanguinor.
The Sanguinor has the fake wings, and it works. I think the Sanguinor model looks great.
So do I.
I have no problems with that one.
No, because they 100% evoked the original and then upscaled him.
But it is funny, though, because he has such a similar pose and similar, like, role as, like, this new Stormcast guy coming out.
Yeah.
That when you look at them side by side, it's like, man, there's just so much more detail in the AOS models right now.
But like, we know AOS is more hero scale. It's like,
But it was really funny to look at that because it's like, well, these guys have a similar function. It's like, but man, the Sanguinor is really plain.
Yeah.
When you look at them side by side, he looks perfect. He looks good.
Yep.
But
he's 100% the Sanguinor.
He's so plain compared to like what they're doing with the AOS models.
It shows how far they've come in their design, even. And I think with the 40K characters, whenever they rehash them, they try to keep them close to the original, which is better proportion and detail.
Right.
And so Sanguinor, they nailed that. But it was like, we've seen these Stormcast characters come out that are just...
I was thinking with Kotias again, and you know what he reminds me of? If you painted him like... so picture the Kotias model. But instead of it being gold, make it black. And at the bottom of his boots, make it fake flames. He looks like the one dumb guy with the bald head in One Punch Man. That didn't want to work. That's what that model reminds me of. I just thought of that. It's like
doing it.
He reminds me of that guy because he's like really like bottom heavy.
Yeah.
Like they've changed his proportions. Like they narrowed his shoulders and made him like wide at the bottom.
His leg armor's massive.
And his leg armors are like bell bottom boots. Yeah. Like it reminds me of that. If you're familiar with One Punch Man, that
greatest
show.
anime ever.
That episode with like the power armor like villain guys. Picture that. That's Kotias, which I think is really funny. I think that's what it's sticking with me. That's why it looks off. Okay.
But mostly positive for the Blood Angels release. I like the chapters getting there. If you're going to have these divergent chapters still be outside of the main codex, then really make them different. Right. And that's what they're trying to do. We very briefly, I'll touch on, we just recently ran our Iowog Grand Tournament last weekend. 2 days, 5 rounds. It was a big turnout. They had 69 people, so a little over. So there ended up...
I think there was supposed to be more, but we wound up being down to 69.
Yeah.
So...
Because there were a couple small events that had to cancel.
Yeah. And
some people wanted to get to Nova, and so this one ended up accommodating extra people. So rented extra spaces. Ended up really good, smoothly run event. But a lot of these people know each other. A lot of these people go to the same events together.
And we see a lot of these folks every year, too.
Yep.
So...
And they're at not just this one. They're at Bug Eater. They're at Midmo. They're at...
And I believe it is on the BCP app.
It is. Yep.
And so like, I mean, if you're in the Midwest, I mean, it is a GT. You can sign up for it.
Yep.
It usually fills up. We usually only have 64 really capacity.
Fast, yeah.
And so I think we're going to try in the coming years to make it a little larger, just to accommodate more folks.
Because that size is relevant. It gives you not only a good sampling of whatever meta the game is based around, but you get some really high quality players. I mean, a couple of the guys who go there are regulars on the big tournament circuits. One of them was an alternate for Team USA at the US Open.
Kyle was at on the US team.
And so, Yeah, that's neat to see. And we're hoping in a few weeks or early October to run an RTT level, a smaller at first, AOS tournament for the 4th edition, like 16 player. So
proper game size.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get some match play, 2,000 point. We'll hopefully get some information up for people if they want to participate in that.
But it's really informal. Our RTTs, we're pretty lax on.
Yep. It's 1 day, 3 rounds. Yep.
On everything. Yeah, so there's not going to be a top one kind of thing, probably.
Probably 2 unbeatens is probably.
We'll probably not even like really enforce paint standards, really. I mean, we'll be, probably do a best painted army kind of thing, but it's like if you just want to show up and play.
There's also a chance it'll be new people.
Even if you've never played the game before, come play 3 games. Like that's the idea. Yep. I mean, I did that really early. We ran RTT early in 10th edition, and I showed up and played. And like the 3 games I played were my first 3 games of 10th edition. Like
you'll learn quick,
like it's not a big deal. After your first round, it pretty much separates the pack anyway.
Yep.
So like the seasoned players will win their first game, the new players will lose their first game, and then you play against new players the whole rest of the day.
Yep.
I mean, that's how it goes. If you're new. So.
But especially as a proof of concept, I mean, we've seen success with the new edition of AOS. This first couple of weeks now, we've had on BCP tournaments going up that are
pretty large,
relatively large, that are anywhere from that size to the 2-day 5 round, and then some that were overfilled and still only did 5 rounds. But so it's clearly hot. Mm-hmm. People are enjoying the game. There's not many complaints about rules in the game. Even if we see some things showing up everywhere, like the morbid conjuration or whatever it is, or morbid abjuration. The
universal spell lore that includes all like the death spells.
Yeah, because when I was looking at the rest of them, the rest of even the universal ones, they felt like the faction ones where they're like, oh, these are okay.
Yeah. I feel like the purple sun maybe is so strong that it should be on a lore by itself.
Similar, like the Kronspine.
Kind of like Kronspine. Kronspire.
Or Kronspine.
Kronspine
of Gyron or whatever it is.
Whatever it is. The incarnate.
The incarnate
realm of beasts.
Monster that eats spells.
Yeah. So Purple Sun might be strong enough where maybe it should be an incarnate of death.
And then the other 3 are left on its own.
And not just an endless spell. It should be an incarnate itself. Right. And then it can be similar to that by itself in its own lore.
Yeah.
Because the other 3 by themselves in their own lore would be fine. It's adding that Purple Sun that's the problem.
Yep. And the fact that you get to cast it or replace it every turn.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's... we've talked about that before too. Is the complaints about endless spells being a little too strong because they add so much extra health to your army. They add another speed bump that you can resummon over and over.
That costs no points.
Yeah, that costs 0. Yep.
But I guess the one reason it hasn't seemed unfair is that almost everybody can play one or the other, and then priest of course can like dispel. And we've seen from the tournament results, which is still super early, no shortage of a variety of armies winning. Mm-hmm. I think very few armies are just not represented really. Like there's been few Sons of Behemoth, Sylvaneth maybe, that aren't showing up that much. Stormcast, believe it or not. But everybody's been represented.
I got thoughts on that.
Everybody's been represented at the top. And that said, we did get a really exciting preview last week, even though it was only like 8 minutes long.
Yeah, so that was odd, right? So these 2 weekends we've had back-to-back previews. This weekend we had a 30-minute preview to show off a single kill team box. Mm-hmm. Last weekend we had 8 brand new kits showed off, and it wrapped up in less than 15. Mm-hmm. That was wild to me. That was like
they turboed.
That was bizarre. Like I said, we were a few minutes late and we missed most of it.
Yeah,
it was crazy. But we did have a bunch of our suspicions confirmed for what we really wanted to see from Skaven updates, because they won the campaign for Hell's Crown.
Yep.
And so we are. And
they didn't shortchange us on what we're seeing here.
No, not at all.
This is all phenomenal.
This is all great. I always want more. I will say that.
Sure.
Right? Like, there's still plenty of... With an army that's so old in general, there's so much that needs to be updated, and you can't do it all at once. I do expect there to be more.
Which is why you also expected, but maybe that's for another time, why Slaves to Darkness might get another wave of stuff.
You know what? Let's talk about that real quick. Okay. Because Skaven, we've all seen that. But what we might not have noticed, because it was a little quiet, was sort of the implication.
The implication?
the implication of what we're seeing for Old World, right?
Yeah.
So Old World is getting a couple things. They're getting a dwarf army expanded within that.
Yep.
And they're getting the Warriors of Chaos.
That's what they call them. Yep.
Brought over to Old World. Well, what that means is Old World's going to have a bunch of old Slaves of Darkness.
They brought back the old Warriors of Chaos, like the actual Chaos Warriors, the old Chaos Knights,
the ones that have their elbows tucked in and their two weapons all out in front of them, like they don't know what to do with them, so they can fit in ranks. The old Chaos Knights, which are they're
still plastic,
completely inferior to the new Knights.
Yeah, they're not even close to the new ones.
You have the Chaos Lord, the Sorcerer on foot, the Manticore. All these models are going to be in Old World, back on rectangle and square bases. But what does that mean for AOS? Typically, when they've done this kind of thing, they've retired it from one game and put it in the other.
Yeah, they're not crossing them over, really.
No, I'm not surprised they did it with Chaos Warriors. I'm not surprised they did it with Chaos Knights. Because they got new kits. But does that mean that when the Gore Beast Chariot and Chaos Chariot get moved over back onto rectangles, are they going to have a replacement for it? Right. What's going to happen with the War Shrine? That's an old kit that was a Warriors of Chaos model. Currently, it's the only priest in Slaves of Darkness. They have their own prayer lore in their army. They don't have any priests though, besides that one, who's not a hero, by the way. Also, so it's also weird. Is that going to get moved out back over to there? I mean, they showed off they were doing like skin wolves and stuff from Forge World too, which is neat.
You still have a place to play them?
No, they're in my Chaos Spawn.
They're in my Chaos.
That's what they are. They're Chaos Spawn now.
They could be emaciated rat ogres.
Everything can be a rat ogre. You got to try hard enough. But the question does become like, well, what happens to those kits in AOS then? Because they haven't said for sure, yes, they are going this way and they're not going to be in AOS anymore. It could be the exception of like, well, we have them in both.
Right.
But I'm hoping what we're going to see is this is a hint of things to come, right? It's like we're going to do another pass at Warriors of Chaos to add more stuff. We already cut their line. We cut off all the cultist units and everything. All of that's gone. The book is way trimmed down with number of units. Now we're going to do, here's a new chariot that's going to be an AOS sized.
Similar to the Stormcast one.
In size, in aesthetic, make
might
a new
not
chariot.
Even be pulled by horses.
Maybe it's something different. Maybe it won't be two variants of it. One's horse. It's just here's a chariot pulled by something. They definitely need a new Chaos Lord on foot because they give us an
exalted hero who looks good. But he looks better than the Lord on foot.
Yes, he does. But then there's a Lord on horse. There's a Lord on Karakadrak. Currently, there's a Lord on the Manticore. Currently, there's a Lord on foot. Those two are old. And so it's like, well, are they going to cut some of those down? Are they going to give us a replacement for it? Are they going to give us a new beast riding Manticore Lord? I would love to see that.
Same.
Because we saw Thalia
Vedra.
And she is amazing looking on a Manticore. And it's like, I know a lot of people are itching to put a Chaos Lord on that Manticore. And so there have been some conversions where they convert it into a Chaos Lord.
And so if you take that idea and then you make the Chaos Corrupted version where it's got more demony wings and it's got a mutilated face.
More demonic face. It's got, webbed kind of lizardy wings instead of feathered ones. Absolutely. Would love to see it. And I feel like that's a pretty big like staple in a Slaves of Darkness army, right? Like that's... The Sorcerer Lord on Manticore is very, very good currently in the rules.
Rules-wise,
and always has been. So it's like, it would be a shame to lose that.
But I'd like a new model.
But I'd love a new model to replace it. That would be great. And so, so maybe we're seeing those kind of things to come. I would say the same thing with the Dwarfs for Cities of Sigmar, right? Because currently you still have the Gyrocopter Gyrobomber in there. Well, I saw the Gyrocopter Gyrobomber in that box set
for Old World
for the was it the Dwarven Holds? Old style dwarfs. Well, what's going on there? And the Rune Lord was in there even. Like the Rune Lord's in Cities of Sigmar right now. Like what's
the Iron
Belagor Ironhammer was also there. He's the Thane on
the Iron Drakes.
The Iron Drakes, which is the heavy armor
and the Hammerers.
So it's like,
so what's going on?
Are they all?
When cities get their pass for the new battle tome, are you going to cut and to make a new thing? Or
but then it's like, okay, well, then the dwarves are out. We're down to humans and elves, dark elves. What's going to happen with dark elves then? I wonder.
You know
what I mean? Like,
that's right.
So I think we are slowly seeing, I'm calling it even, that we are seeing hints of what's going to happen in the future for some of these armies. There might be another Dwarven army that they come out with in AOS.
Could be.
That's going to replace the Dwarven holds. Because, I mean, people still do like that old style of dwarf.
Well,
right? Why would you alienate people with and not give them something that they want to when they're asking for it?
Well, and for Cities of Sigmar in particular, what they could do to change it up is they could release these like one-off, almost mercenary units.
Yeah.
That would be like...
I mean, that's a great idea. I mean, they've showed that they're willing to do these regiments of renown that are... You don't get to customize them. Yep. They can be brought in any army.
You buy, and it might be more than even just one unit. It might be like 2 units and a character or whatever. That would be its own like regiment of renown, but then cities can play them as their dwarf allies.
Or any order can play them.
Yep.
They're like, you don't have an army for this.
Yeah.
They're literally just mercenary units. I think they should do that already. Like, there's plenty of units in the game that shouldn't be in an army that just should be mercenaries.
Yep.
Right. Look at the Wolf Riders for Gits. They don't fit in anything. No army or no leader can actually bring them in the regiment except for maybe Skagrot.
Yeah, he can bring any. Yeah.
But he's the only like hero that can put them in a regiment. Otherwise, they're auxiliary no matter what. That's weird to me. There's no synergy there at all.
So unless they plan on expanding that side of it.
Now, I will say we did see a rumor engine that has another model with the same harness as those wolves have.
You did.
So maybe we will see a wolf riding hero who can then lead them.
And then they could do even just a other unit that's a dual kit, and then now you've got this little contingent of.
Now you can play them playable. Yeah. But we'll see.
So it's interesting. Mm-hmm. Our conclusion here is that because of what we've seen them do with the old world, with both the dwarves and the slaves to dark, or the Warriors of Chaos, it might be pointing to what units could be going away or seeing replacements in AOS.
Right.
Which is exciting. We both play slaves, so that's obviously exciting to see we get some new kits in that regard, even if they're totally new ideas. But on the new ideas, you are, of course, even though everyone's seeing it, super excited for the Skaven.
Yeah.
Because that's like, you got to get every one of those things.
Yeah.
You have to.
I have to.
Yeah.
I was looking, it's like, what don't I need to, I need to get them all.
Yep.
There's just no question. I have to. So again, we had a list of kind of a wish list of what we wanted to see. I think mine was a little more extensive because I think every single clan needed an update. Mm-hmm. We saw an update to 3 of the clans, right? So Pestilence has kind of been cut down a little bit and left out from an update.
For them, yeah.
They've got a Vermin Lord. They've still got their Great Censor. They've got Plague Monks, but that's. Plague Claw, I guess, Catapult. But that's the extent of Clan Pestilence, right? They lost their priest on foot, which is weird because the priest comes...
Didn't they lose their...
They lost the elite censor bearers. Yeah. That were winning tournaments at the end of 3rd. They cut those. Those are gone now. I don't think they're making Plague Monks any more elite. So they just kind of lost a unit without getting some kind of replacement. But that, again, not permanently, I don't think. I think they'll get an update eventually. I think Skaven is going to get updates throughout the year because there's some wording in one of the one of the giveaways that made me think that there's more coming. Because if you win their raffle thing for submitting their results and getting chosen to get all the releases for an army, it's not saying you'll get all the releases for this army when it comes out. They said you'll get all the releases over the next 12 months.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean over the next 12 months? If you release this all in one batch,
right? They're not going to delay these kits.
What's 12 months from now? Right. Well, there might be more coming.
There could be.
That you will win because you've.
They might have stuff on the docket and they just haven't found a release slot for it, so they haven't shown it to us yet.
But we had seen some of the new stuff, which is really exciting. We were talking about a new Vermin Lord kit coming out.
And that you didn't wish list. That you based on.
Well, there was a story where there was like a Grey Seer was talking to the council, and like there was a scene where the council were talking amongst themselves, and there was like an upstart Vermin Lord who was like challenging Lord Screech. Did I do that? No, that's not Screech. Sorry.
You think of Dustin Diamond from Saved by the Bell.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Lord Screech. But he was kind of popping up as like a new like up and coming like demon within the pantheon.
And continuing this theme of showing fractures within factions.
Yeah, exactly.
As people are vying for
here
power.
Here are two different ways to play this army.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you think about it, even Cities of Sigmar, when they came out, they've got that. Right? You've got Thalia Vedra, which leads like the Free Guild. Mm-hmm. But then you had, what's her name of the Wheel? The lady who's being like carried by the two guys.
Yeah.
She's a separate sub-faction.
Not Pontifex.
Pontifex something.
Yeah.
But she leads like the faithful of Sigmar kind of thing. She flagellates, and she's all about the fate.
The zealots.
Yes, that kind of aspect of it. And so like right there, it's like, hey, there's two different named characters, and they both lead different types of armies. So like almost every army is like that.
Well, I like that because like it doesn't even make sense for these factions when you think of how factions throughout even human history have worked. Mm-hmm. They're not all on the same page.
Yeah. They don't have the same goals.
They sometimes play nice as long as they need to, but it's really they've got their own agenda.
Yeah.
And we've seen it over and over again, really since like Eternus first came out, and then they've continued it. Mm-hmm. And this is great because you got someone who is not all on team Screech Vermin King.
Yeah. Maybe even a direct rival to him wants to kind of usurp his spot as the leader of the. It was like
Saruman and Sauron. It was like while they were kind of allied during the War of the Ring, Saruman had his own agenda, and was a powerful rival. But
didn't he know that the ring only has one master?
Duh. But this model blew me away. Like it's one of the most centerpiecey looking things they've ever done. It almost looks like something you'd see another manufacturer make for a large scale.
Yeah,
but it's for
they've really changed kind of how the aesthetic looks for Skaven subtly, right? It's a little more skinny. There's a little more like grimness to it.
They're
like,
rats,
you know, like there's some grittiness. Like if you look at his like left hand, it's so gangly and grotesque. It's like it's a proper like clawed hand. Whereas like if you look at the old Vermin Lords, they just have normal hands. Mm-hmm. You know, they're kind of cute. I mean, if you want to put it in those terms, this guy is not cute. He's a demon. He's got little Lucifer horns on the front of his forehead, in addition to his giant gnarly broken rack of horns. Yeah, like He's a very different, like, aesthetic creature, but he still looks very Verminlord, right?
You don't question what he is. Yeah,
he's got his horn rack. He's got his staff weapon. You know, but he almost looks a little like Vashtor to me, honestly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just not Mechanicum.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So super cool new character. It does not look like he's going to be a generic. It's just the named version of him,
right?
Which is fine. You've got the generic one already. Lots of detail though, such a great model. They're coming out with a new named Warlord on foot, who has
which I didn't expect that, but
I feel like I've heard the name before, and I know people were definitely asking questions online about the fate of the Fellblade, which was the sword that. So back in the world that was, where both Skaven existed and Nagash existed, there was a particular demon weapon that the Skaven gave to Nagash's older brother, who Nagash had imprisoned because he wanted to be the leader of Nahakar. Nahakar? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm not prepared for this, so I'm whipping these names out. I hope I'm getting them right. But he had imprisoned his brother, and the Skaven, who loved to sow chaos and well, basically the reason they wanted to kill Nagash is because his castle in the mountains was a giant cache of warpstone. But the Skavens showed up and they're like, hey, here's a sword, and the gate's now unlocked, and they just had Nagash's brother walk up with a sword and kill him.
Yep.
That was like Nagash's first death. But the weapon that he used was this like demon sword, and it was called the Fellblade, I believe. And it was a very, very powerful artifact level thing, and it kind of disappeared into legend after that happened because the brother wandered off and disappeared and died and whatever.
In older versions of Warhammer Fantasy, you used to be able to just buy generic magic items from the book, and one of them was the
Fellblade. Yeah.
It was like 100 points.
But one of them was like the Fellblade. It wasn't just a Fellblade. Well, this guy, Kritok Foulblade, is lore-wise wielding a demon weapon.
That looks incredible.
Yeah, the sword he's wielding is literally a demon weapon. It's not made of warpstone like most of the other weapons they have. Legitimately demon weapon. Well, like some of the thoughts is like, well, is this the Fellblade that he's wielding here?
Yeah.
Like
it could
be.
That time. Yeah.
I mean, the Skaven did. Why couldn't it?
Yep.
So it's
and
super
he's
cool
great.
looking
He's
model.
classic Skaven warlord look.
Yep.
He's a named guy, so he's relevant in the story.
I do really like how the like his little attendants that are following around behind him are kind of like hiding under his cloak that he's wearing, and he's like, "Yes, that's just fine." You could see him just being like, he reached out and just like pat them on the faces. You know, like these are his attendants. They're as loyal as a Skaven can be. You know, because they've got a thing where they can't help themselves.
No.
When there's an opportunity, they will not help. They will backstab.
They will backstab. It's
every time. Every time.
And even the silhouette of this model is very balanced.
Yeah. You're right. It's very open. It's got
and that flow from the sword to the banners.
It kind of has that flat sort of in terms of design, right? It's kind of got that single plane that everything kind of sits on. Yep. The banners and the sword arm and the openness of his chest all are on that same kind of plane. So it leaves him very open to be painted. And
I think it's great, and I'm glad that he's named.
Yeah.
Because you want to make AOS stick, you have to have named characters that are not just the carryovers.
Correct.
Which we suspect, or at least I do, Ogre, Maw tribes are going to get a similar
If you get a named character, you're sticking around.
Yeah.
So the armies that don't have named characters, I think, are a little
sus.
Little sus. Yeah, a little sus. I mean, they cut all kinds of different sub factions that just had no support.
Yep.
Phoenix Temple, like that was a
and I think
clear
since
one.
they've committed to Ogre Maw tribes being in this edition, I think when they come around, they're going to get some character. They're going to get some name AOS updates. But
he's great looking. We have no idea what rules are for any of these.
No,
but.
And the battle tomes are still on the way.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think makes perfect sense, but you said your favorite out of all of this was the remake of an old infantry kit.
Yeah. His dudes, which are the Storm Vermin, I think are
those are the elite Skaven warriors.
Yeah. Like they used to be just clan rat sized guys with just armor and halberds.
Yeah.
And they, looking back, they look a little goofy. You know, again, the old Skaven had a cute quality to them.
They did.
Skaven do not look cute anymore.
Well, their faces looked like they were Jim Henson puppet ratmen. Right. Is what they looked like before.
Yeah. And a lot of people were complaining that the warlord here is bald, but it's like so.
He looks great.
He's an old Skaven, which you don't hear often.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, their life expectancy is so short.
Do not live long.
No.
I mean, that's why it's so weird that what's his name? Thanquol is still around. He's like the oldest Skaven there is.
Tens of thousands.
But this guy has gotten old enough, so he's probably about 8 years old. He's old enough to have bald. You know, like he doesn't have hair on his head anymore. Yep. So, but yes, the Storm Vermin look aesthetically like. Think about when the Blackworks got updated.
Oh yeah,
right. Those like gorilla positioned old Blackworks and
head in the middle of the chest, and
well, when they got the new pig themed
Ard Boys and stuff, Iron Jaws.
Yeah, the Iron Jaws Ard Boys, when they got updated, it's like, oh, this is
100%.
This is 100% better. Like this is so good. It fits the aesthetic has been updated. It looks like the old thing, but it clearly isn't the old thing.
It looks more like the artwork version of the original thing. Yeah.
It's diverged a little bit from the old style, but it fits the setting better.
Yep.
That's these guys.
Yeah, they look so good.
They look great.
And I think I speak for us both. We're kind of like suckers for updated infantry.
Yeah.
When infantry, it's like they can do centerpieces all day long, but like when they take an infantry kit and make it so it still looks simple in the sense that they're basic dudes, but then they give them this makeover, it's like, oh man,
that's
just
and it is a unit,
like the Dark Oath. It was the same thing. It was like,
and it's a unit of 10. It's not like they got reduced to an elite unit of 5 or something. It's like nope, still 10 dudes in a unit, still full command, still got your halberds, got rid of their stupid shields, so they don't need them.
No, you got pole arms.
They're always optional.
Get out there.
So yeah, they're great. They're my favorite thing that I think was released.
One other thing, and I guess we don't have to touch on every kit here, but what was really pleasant to see was when we talked about, oh man, every one of these clans has characters that are old metal or really old, and they went and updated. They gave one for like everybody. It was like.
So again, the only thing they didn't touch on were 2 clans, which was Pestilence and Eshin. Who got the same amount of treatment. They got cut down to like you got an infantry unit. You got
Eshin
one
got a new guy
not too long ago.
Yeah, and so I think here, but then they were like, here's Mulder, here's whatever. So the Warlock is in the Scryer thing.
So we got a new Master Mulder. We got a new Behemoth for Mulder.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a new Arch Warlock to replace Ikit Claw, that old model. Which the the aesthetic is different, but it's still very
invokes.
Exactly. It's still got this weird pole arm. He's still got his flamer hand gauntlet. Like it
Freddy Krueger hand.
It looks great. Yeah. They gave a normal generic warlock, another one
in the starter box.
So we've got pretty much a replacement for like the one with the halberd and the pistol. I think is a kind of a generic one. This one has a two-handed gun. There you have the one with the rocket already. You've got the one with the long rifle. Now you've got this one with this basically a portable warp lightning cannon.
Yep.
So, looks great.
Oh, the Warlock Galvanir. Yeah.
I love
because it's just a Warlock that's in the Skaven Tide box.
Basically, yeah.
So now we have
we got three of them.
Yeah,
you got the Bombardier, which has the Doom rocket.
Yeah.
You got this guy with the lightning cannon, and then you've got the sniper.
Yeah.
They're all kind of like different variants of the same guy.
I love it.
And they all look very similar, so they're great. And then we got the Clan Squire Globadier update, which was a model that. Oh man, it felt so bad.
When you couldn't even get them, and when you looked into it, it was like, well, here's a blister of 3, and to get a unit of these, I would have to spend $400 or something.
Yeah, it was absurd because it was like $90 for 3 of them. It was insane. A blister of 3 was like $90, or maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe it was like $45 or $60, but it was like absurd. It's like, and their units of
single
how many?
Piece crappy metal.
How many models are in this unit? If I want to run 20 of them, I got to spend like $400.
Yeah.
Silly. This kit will be, $55 for 5. Much more palatable. Still, but so much better update.
And they look spectacular.
They look,
I was glad they kept them around. The weapons teams, it'll be interesting to see how they do the rules for that because they literally made every weapon.
Yeah. So they did them in pretty much 1-to-1 updates, right? So they did the rattling guns, which they were keeping around. They did the warp fire throwers, which they were keeping around, and then they did I think kind of a new one, which is kind of like mini warp lightning cannons. So the ones they had gotten rid of previously
might be similar to what the Galvanir guy carries.
Yeah, but they got rid of the Globadier.
Yep.
The Bombardier,
right.
whatever it's called.
Yeah, it was a bombard.
Poison wind mortar.
Yes.
That one.
Yep.
They got rid of that one. But I think that was the only weapon they actually cut. So, whatever. It only came in one box set.
Yep.
Which is why they cut it. It was an old box that they stopped making, so it's fine. But the fact they have a new one is great. They didn't lose their warp grinder, but it might have a new role now. Now it's not like a little weapon team. Now it's kind of a bigger, sort of more war machiney type weapon team. And then my biggest surprise was they kept the Doom players,
which to me was just icing. It was a metal model that didn't look bad.
Yeah.
So it was like sad to see it go, but then here you go. Here's plastic one. It looks like it makes a couple different ways. Might be in units of 2,
maybe
like a little chariot type.
Unsure, yeah, maybe. But it did look like the weapon teams were units of 3.
Yeah,
because like it was 3 models in the kit clearly, and then each one makes a different, slightly visual variant of the same gun.
So I think when they updated the Cadian weapon teams, it was like that because they did 2 versions. They did the heavy weapon and then but the 3-man or the 3-team unit is like that, where it's like they maybe can all be different or maybe all be the same. We'll have to see how that.
And maybe that's how you take them in the game too. Is that you buy units of 3 of them now instead of individual ones? Because it was really weird where it's like I'm going to pay 40 points to buy one model.
Right.
That's 2 wounds.
Yeah, it'll probably be units of 3, because they'll probably be fragile.
But it also makes sense for list building to have, here I'm taking 3 weapon teams, and you can't just I got 40 points left over, I'll take a rattling gun.
Yeah.
So for list building purposes, I think it makes way more sense, and for packaging purposes, it makes way more sense. So I think it's super cool. I loved all the updates.
Every model we saw spectacular for Skaven. They need it and maybe more.
Yep.
And the only disappointing thing was that Games Workshop elected on that preview event to spend about 15 minutes.
Just rush through it all.
They just fired right through it. And I showered and I shaved my balls for that, and it was only 15 minutes long.
Yeah. 6 to 7 minutes we missed even. So it was like,
what a waste.
The point?
Yeah, no point. I only get that ready when I'm getting ready to go out to eat.
Exactly. Yeah. Just by myself.
Yeah, even just by myself.
I'm going to eat. I better get my balls ready.
I better get them nice and shorn and
yeah. So you don't want to be uncomfortable sitting at the restaurant. No. Ever.
Nice. Keep the temperature low.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But speaking of, I absolutely could eat.
We could eat.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to shave, but let's go.
Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoyed. Follow us for more of our weekly episodes on YouTube podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can follow myself and Llama on Instagram. We are at Llama Paints Minis and Hyena Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.